Rolling.
Hey, how are you?
Except the picnic table is not only teeny tiny, it's a bit slanted.
And it also is not just slanted like this, but like bowed in the middle.
I didn't do it.
No, they're probably from the sun here during the summer, I would imagine.
Plastic.
Yeah, they're plastic. Anyway, we are...
That's how we start every video.
It is
full
how
of
we
chaos.
started. Yeah, that's fine. It's chaos. We are here in... Oh, crap.
New
where are we?
Mexico.
New Mexico. Las Cruces is the town that we're in right now. And we're going to be talking about our trip to here. Annabelle is very angry right now because she opened the basement door and wasn't quite latched and it almost hit her in the head, so she's angry. And we're laughing at her. Anyway.
We're laughing at her scowly face.
At her scowly
not
face.
That she almost got hit.
Not that she almost got hit, no. So we're going to talk about our trip from Cameron to Camp Verde and then to Benson. We're going to get all that done in 15 minutes or less.
You're learning to talk a little faster.
Good for me. All right. So
we ended up, what was it, like 3 hours-ish from Cameron to Camp Verde?
Yeah, something like that.
And we knew we needed to get far.
I'll be right back.
Okay, we got disconnected. I think we were talking about the trip from
Take two.
Cameron to Camp Verde.
Cameron to Camp Verde.
We knew we needed to get far enough south past Flagstaff because they were expecting a snowstorm.
Yeah.
And people do RV in snow and cold.
But not us.
But they're also a little bit more prepared for those situations. And we didn't really want to drive in those situations.
Yeah, the driving was probably the biggest thing. The other really big thing for me, at least, and I know Amanda's, she said other people are more prepared, and they probably are. I really worry about our water, like our water lines.
Freezing.
So freezing up. So that's what I get concerned about when I hear snow.
So it has been the whole time we were in Arizona and now in New Mexico. I mean, it's the beginning of, it's almost the beginning of December, but temperatures are getting cold. And so I'm getting pictures of home in Wisconsin is snowing and it's super cold. And then we're pretty nice during the day, but then at night it gets really cold.
Yeah, we've had a few times where it's dropped below 30. Most of the time it's in the low 30s and just hovering right around that freezing mark. And so we've insulated
because the sky is clear, which you get to see all sorts of stars, which is really pretty, but it also makes it really cold. And there's just a certain point where cold is cold, and it's not massively cold like freezing midwinter Wisconsin cold, but it's still, I have my hat on and my winter coat and my gloves on.
And you can see the difference. She has this nice shawl and a sweater on. I've got short sleeves, my llama shirt. This is the famous llama shirt. Many of my students would recognize it. Also a Emmett original, the Smile a Lot t-shirt. So
Emmett designed that shirt.
Emmett designed it, yeah. So anyway, Cameron.
Okay, so past Flagstaff, but before we past
Can't go
Flagstaff,
past yet.
we stopped at Hobby Lobby.
I did not get to go inside. I stayed out with the pups, but everybody else was super excited to be at Hobby Lobby because at Hobby Lobby,
It's Christmas time.
it's Christmas time.
Well, it's been Christmas time since June, but not so much here. The Southwest is not as proactive about it, if that's the right word. They didn't even have all their Christmas stuff out. I'm like, you have wallpaper or wrapping paper? She's like, yeah, it's not out yet.
I sent a message, a picture message to one of my friends that works at Menards, which they were ready in October for Christmas. And this was November, and of a Walmart that really had empty shelves. And he's like, yeah.
They bought a Christmas tree, a little 4 feet tall.
No.
4 feet tall Christmas tree that sits in front of our fireplace, and the kids were super excited. Jason wanted a cactus, and he was vetoed.
I was vetoed heavily.
Unanimously vetoed.
I think Zoe and Zoomer were on my side, but
we do have a little
cactus,
singing
cactus,
musical
yeah, we do.
cactus.
And actually, it's kind of neat because I've always liked the romanticism of a fireplace at Christmas time, and we've never had one.
That's where stockings are hung up there.
Yep.
Our stockings courtesy of the Dollar Tree, which I was excited because we have stockings at home that are all embroidered with the kids' names, but I didn't want to bring those, so I wanted to find something, and they're cute. And then we personalized them with glitter.
With glitter letters, yeah.
But
So Hobby Lobby was
here,
the
not
big.
there.
So Hobby Lobby was the big stop in Flagstaff, and as a matter of fact, we talked several times about, are we gonna go back to Flagstaff and do more shopping? We never did though.
It was like an hour away from Camp Verde, but they had everything that you could want.
So Camp Verde then was, well, maybe, like you said, about an hour from Flagstaff. And I think this is one of the nicer campgrounds that we stayed at. I almost said hotels.
It was brand new.
Yeah, it's fairly new.
It was Verde Ranch. And it was an RV
Verde
resort.
Ranch, RV resort, yep. And it was like CRR Lifestyle or something like that was the company that owned them. But it was very new, and things were really good. You know, we've had this goat head issue throughout the Southwest, and at least in the campground, we really didn't have many issues with goat heads. There were a few spots that still had them; they're everywhere, but we didn't have the issues. The roads were all paved. The sites were gravel, but it's not like not like road-based gravel. It's a different type of gravel, and makes it nice rocks to work with. And so some of the other things that we really liked about Verde Ranch, Emmett and I enjoyed the heated pool. Not just a hot tub. They did have hot tubs too, but we enjoyed the heated pool almost every day up until very near the end of our stay, and the heater, I think, broke at that point.
The non-heated pool.
So that was a non-heated pool. They were doing some maintenance on it, fixing some parts. So at the end of the stay, we weren't able to be in it as much. But we really enjoyed that heated pool, which was weird to us because like it'd be 50 degrees, and we'd be in the heated pool. And it was warm, and then you go in the hot tub and it was even warmer, and then you go back in the heated pool, and it was pretty nice. It was cold sometimes, but overall it was pretty nice. Their clubhouse was really neat. Again, brand new, very nice. They had several televisions in there. They had a pool table. They had they had fireplace, big fireplace. One of the see-through ones, which is kind of cool. So you could be on either side of it, any side of it, really.
I'm gonna have one of those someday.
That's pretty neat. I like it. They had the shuffleboard, not like the push stick, but like the one inside where you just shove the little pucks. We're not very good at that game.
I liked it. Was clean. There was lots of places to walk, and it was. I mean, it wasn't cheap, but it was inexpensive for what you got.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It was. Some places like that are close to $100 a night, and I think we paid 50 something.
And you know, they had so many dog areas. They probably had more dog areas than any other place.
It was turf.
It was
but
turf,
they were trying.
But they were trying really hard. They had 2 different dog parks that were separated. So they were in the same spot, but they were separated out. So we went to some of those and really enjoyed it.
So we were actually there for 12 days. Which wasn't the original plan. I don't like to sit still that long. The kids have requested to stay longer, and Jason doesn't seem to mind. But the reason we ended up there 12 days was Arizona is full.
Yeah.
And a lot of Arizona is 55 plus RV areas, campgrounds. So you have to be 55 years of age, and we are not that, and they don't want families coming in there. So there's a lot of places to stay, but there's not a lot of places we qualify for. Or I should say far less. And there's actually a lot of state parks and dispersed camping that we could have stayed at. That's not that super easy for us, but a lot of those places in the state parks, we're too big. And that's not everywhere. Yeah. That's just certain places.
And right now
we couldn't go there because we wouldn't fit.
And right now we couldn't go there anyway, even if we did fit, because we still haven't fixed the valve. So we've got to fix a valve, a stuck valve on our gray tank, which isn't as big of a deal because it's a gray tank. So as long as we're hooked up, it's cool. But if you try to do dispersed camping, boondocking, dry camping, whatever you would like to call it, we can't. The water would just keep flowing out. It's not good for us. Anyway.
So it was a nice place. It was the 12 days was intended to be 2 different places, but that didn't work out that way. So while we were there, we actually just kind of hung out a lot there. But we also went over to Beaver Creek.
Beaver Creek Recreational Area.
Walked to the Bell Trail, which if you had time and were prepared with a lot of water and snacks, what is like a 3 mile, 5 hour hike, leisure. It's not strenuous, but you're not like going at a hardcore pace. The end was supposed to be super cool, and a lot of people go back there and go swimming and stuff, but we didn't make it that far. But we went on that hike. It was cool. All the cactuses, all the prickly pear cactuses were up on a hill. Emmett named it Cactus Hill. And then we drove down a little farther, and I don't know if it was technically part of the dry Beaver Creek, but it was part of the creek that was dried up. They also have, there's wet Beaver Creek and dry Beaver Creek, and I don't know.
They look the same.
But it was the red rocks, and they were big, and we got to just walk around on them.
Yeah, there was just there was a bridge going over the creek, and
that was better than the hike.
Yep, that was better. We just turned off and explored. We saw some kind of lizard. I don't know if we ever really figured out what that was.
So yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
We just ran because we thought it was a snake.
I like seeing wildlife, even if it was a snake. I probably would have at least looked at it.
We take the dogs far away from those situations.
So Bell Trail was really neat. Ethan and I went back to that same area to try to do some mountain biking. Elmore Wash was the name of the trail that we looked up, and the start of it was fine, but once we got into it, probably about a mile and a half, all of a sudden the trail got really narrow and was probably much more suited for horseback riding than biking. We still tried it. We got up a ways, and of course we can't go biking without popping a tire.
Oh, don't say that.
I don't want that to be the case forever and ever, but I think we found a solution at Camp Verde, and I'll maybe talk about that. But it was cactus this time. The cactus, the prickly pears were growing really close, and some of the barrel cactuses too, really close to the trail edge. A couple of times I actually got cactus spines in my foot from pedaling. And, so anyway, so we did that.
Must have been really narrow
as well. It was in spots. It was pretty narrow. So
kind of two big adventures, but our big adventure while we were there was going into Sedona.
Yeah.
Which we stopped at the ranger station. I don't remember the name of it. Red Cliff.
Yep.
Anyways, he gave us a ton of information, and knowing that we were 6 humans, 4 kids, varying ability levels, 2 dogs, and not always wanting to be where all the other people are, he gave us a really awesome hike.
Yeah, it was great. Mike was the guy's name. He wasn't a ranger, he was a volunteer.
Yeah.
And just really was passionate about the area and the history of the area. He gave us enough stuff to do probably for a couple months.
Yeah.
He gave us a lot of stuff to do, not just in Sedona, but in Jerome and some of the surrounding areas. But the hike that we did was Mystic Trail to Hogwash to Hog Heaven to Hog something else, and brought us back out around one of the very popular areas of Sedona. I forget what exactly, Holy Chapel or something. Chapel something. Yeah. There's a big chapel up, built right into the rocks, into the.
Oh.
Bell's being goofy again, which is a good thing. But anyway, so we did that hike, and it was what, 4.5 maybe miles.
Oh. Yeah, it was, I would say about 4 miles.
Yeah, 4.5, something like that. It took
us, or was it 3 miles and it took us 4 hours?
Maybe. Could be.
That's what it was.
Okay. And some of it was strenuous a little bit.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, and then some of it was pretty easy. The fun thing, I think, about that, besides just the gorgeous views, was that we actually were able to FaceTime and video call several different people along the way and take them on the hike with us. So that was a lot of fun. We called my mom, did a little video hike with her, and then called Amanda's Aunt Tiz and did a video hike with her. And then we tried calling Grandma Jima, but we weren't able to actually. It's the strong arms.
It's the wash machine.
It's the wash machine. We're hearing a little creak, 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 and it's the wash machine. So anyway, that was kind of fun. And the only time that was really kind of iffy was when we weren't sure which way the trail went, but we figured it out.
After going this way, let's check
let's
this
try
way.
this way. Yeah, it was good though.
But there were some steep spots, like literally. Zoomer pulled me up nicely a couple places. Zoomer got to be let go a couple times so he could go down and not pull me down. There was really no place for him to go, so he just met somebody at the bottom. But it was like climbing up fairly flat rock surfaces a couple times. Not a safety issue, but it was fun and challenging. I popped my knee. Owen had to help me up and down a couple places a couple times. It took me about like a week to recover from popping my knee, but
and we didn't really
tired.
We were all tired. We didn't really run into other people that much. There were a few here and there. We had some mountain bikers that were coming up some of these paths, and they were not easy paths. They were, they were pretty.
I don't know how you would ride your bike.
I don't. Ethan would probably be fine, but I wouldn't be able to do it. No.
No.
We also saw some of the Jeep tours.
Yeah.
And they were doing some sketchy stuff with them, which was fun to watch. glad we weren't part of it. But Sedona was a really, really good experience. We didn't do any of the town. There's a lot to see in the town, I think. It's pretty touristy. We also did the airport view.
Yeah, we drove around to some of the bigger monuments, not the right word.
Viewpoints.
Yeah, and didn't get out and do any hiking. Parking lots were full, but we knew that wasn't our destination anyways after stopping at the visitor center. Took pictures, and then drove up to the airport view and took pictures as well.
Yeah. The other big excursion that we had while we were at Camp Verde is we went to the Tonto Basin. And so I actually asked one of the rangers, like, hey, how did this get the name Tonto Basin? And what I was told was that when European explorers first came this way, there were settlements all over that area. There are a couple of creeks that come together, settlements all over the area. And so there were some cave dwellings. We actually went and saw the cave dwellings, and we'll maybe talk a little bit more about that. But the European settlers would talk to the people on the creek bottoms, and they would say, well, what about those people up there? And they say, oh, those are the Tonto Apaches, and Tonto apparently means crazy. So that was the story I was given. Yeah, so that's what the guy told me. So those were the crazy ones that lived up in the caves. So that was kind of neat. So Tonto Basin was cool. Roosevelt Lake is there. Teddy Roosevelt's been like everywhere.
You can't get to it because it's closed.
Yeah, there was a lot that was closed. Weren't able
if you
to
were
get
in a boat, you
into
could
it.
get on the lake, but any of the beach areas or access that we could get to was all closed right now. My back was hurting sitting down, so
Well, we can
here I am standing.
watch this. We can do this. Whoop. Closer to better.
So we went on the dwelling. Did you say we actually went up there?
No, I didn't say that yet. Go ahead. We went to the cave dwellings. And they were really neat. It's just kind of interesting to note the history that they do know about it. There's a lot of stuff they don't know about the cave dwellings, but there's a lot they do know. And that's part of a cultural group, not necessarily just Apache cultural group, but part of a cultural group that had really interesting trade with different areas, including out to California and down into Mexico. They had macaws that they brought up from Mexico. They had shells from California, different things like that. But I think what was kind of really interesting, just gives a little perspective, is you're sitting in this cave dwelling looking at where people lived. You can see the smoke still on the cave ceilings. A lot of the structures were in some disrepair from people. As a matter of fact, they showed early pictures of it. It was really well preserved. But there were actually pieces of wood of the structure that were original, and these people left before European settlers even came to the United States. They were gone from that area before the 1400s even began, so they were in there for 150 or so years.
This cave dwelling is literally up in a hill, like 350 feet up.
Yep.
And so the path we took was zigzagging back and forth to get up there. So I'm sure they would have had their paths, which would have been fairly steep, and then the ranger volunteer guy there told me they would have had to take ladders.
Yeah, they had ladders to actually get in. Yeah, so that was protection against against other tribes and other people. So I think I really enjoyed that. Emmett really enjoyed it. He even wanted to sit down and watch the movie that they had about it afterwards. So we did that. It was a 20-minute video. It was good. Overall, it was a lot of driving. There's a big dam. We stopped and saw the big dam, the overlook there. It was quite an impressive piece of work. Probably not as big, obviously not as big as Hoover Dam, but similar idea to that, and controlling water flow throughout that basin.
So it was a really long day. It ended up being farther away from us in Camp Verde than we thought, but it was one of the places that when I was trying to book places that I was originally trying to get to. I knew the area sounded really cool. Now, would I drive out of my way to do that again? Probably not.
I think probably the coolest thing was just the saguaros.
Exactly what I was going to say. Yes. Because that's the only place we saw them.
Yeah, and they were
in abundance.
Yeah, they just would be up the hillside, and they were big, huge saguaros. They live a couple hundred years often, and that's what they figured these probably were a couple hundred years old. They were big saguaro cactuses. Anything else about Camp Verde, Amanda?
Oh, I did write down that we actually tried a cactus pear.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we tried a cactus pear, lots of seeds in it.
So I didn't realize, prickly pear cactuses are kind of the round ones, flattish. And I think people eat the cactus and the flesh of them, but I didn't realize that the bulbs that grow on them, when they call them prickly pear, that's actually a pear. It never clicked. And so we happened to see one in the grocery store, and we got it, and we ate it.
Yep.
You peel it, and the inside is full of seeds, like hard seeds, which are edible, but it does make it hard to eat. But I think people usually pulverize them, make jams and sauces and things with them. But that was kind of cool to try. It was a very soft flavor, kind of pearish taste.
Yeah, very light.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I wrote down for Camp
Verde. Okay. Again, Camp Verde was really great. Verde Ranch, if you're in that area and want to camp, great campground. I would recommend it. It's good.
There is 1,000 trails there if you have 1,000 trails membership, but
we couldn't get
it was full.
Yep, it was full.
So on the way to Benson, though, we got to drive through Phoenix and Tucson.
Sure did. Sure did.
And I did some brief estimation. What did I say? Like in that mecca of Mesa and Tucson and Phoenix, there's like 3 million people.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, because I think Phoenix itself is over 1.5 million, and then the surrounding area.
Driving through Tucson was not that bad. I think we must have kind of went around the outskirts.
Yep.
Driving through Phoenix, it was a Sunday. It also, I'm sure, in comparison, was not that bad. Traffic was steady. We didn't have to stop or anything. 7 lanes of traffic sometimes, but it wasn't that bad. My biggest complaint about Phoenix was the lines are not painted very well, and so you don't always know where you're supposed to be driving.
And there would be shifts in the lane,
yes,
and it wasn't obvious, and all of a sudden you're like, I was in the middle of a lane a couple of times, and I knew that, and I'd get over, and Amanda, I guess, was worried that I was cutting people off, and you don't see them in the big rigs, so you just hope that people are paying attention there. But it wasn't my driving, it was the fact that you could not see where these lanes were. There was no way to know.
I didn't. I was following you, and I didn't know where to be sometimes. So know that if you drive in Phoenix.
So again, we went through those areas, and then we got to Benson, and Benson is just a small little town. There's a Walmart and was it a Safeway, grocery store, and some general things. It's just north of Sierra Vista, about a half an hour. Sierra Vista is a little bit bigger town. In that particular town. Come on, buddy. Come on. Yeah, you can be on video. There you go. Look at the camera.
He always hides
in
the
camera.
Car.
There you go. So Sierra Vista, a little bit bigger town. We were able to go to a Target, which everybody was pretty excited about.
Hobby Lobby.
And a Hobby Lobby. Yep, we got to do Magical Christmas at Hobby Lobby again. And I'm sure there'll be, if there was one here. Is there one here?
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm sure we'll go again. So anyway, so Benson, we did a couple of neat things. First of all, Sierra Vista is where Amanda's cousin, Ryan, lives with his family, and so we were able to meet up with him. He came out to the Riv and after work and brought me some mule deer, so we'll see how that is. I've never had mule deer. I would assume it's similar to whitetail. I actually have some of it thawing out now. I took it out this morning, some sticks and some summer sausage. Got opportunity to catch up with him and talk. I think the last time we really communicated was probably 5 years ago or so when we were there. Is that about right? We were there 5 years ago? Yeah. And then Thanksgiving Day, I actually ended up, after our Thanksgiving lunch, I went to their place for Thanksgiving dinner and had a great time talking to him. And one of his colleagues that he works with, he is actually a firefighter that goes and fights forest fires. And so it was just really interesting to get to talk to those guys and see some of the things that they do and some of the things that how they live. And
what do you mean his colleague? That's what they all do.
Yeah, see what they do, what they actually do. No. So see what those guys do and just hear him talk. And he's a leader of that group, and I think he's a fantastic leader. We had some good conversations about leadership. If you truly know me, you know that I do not shy away from talking about leadership. And so it was a good time for me to just have a little bit of really guy time, more so than anything else.
Jason misses people.
I do. I miss people. I miss, I mean, there's several, and I'm sure they won't be watching, but Travis Kowalski, Jacob Perner, those guys that I coach with, those are all guys I miss, and if they do see it, hopefully they make a comment. But we did some neat things in Benson. Benson KOA was a basic KOA. The people that are there are starting to upgrade it. Their pool was not functional. As a matter of fact,
It's just a hole
it was
in
just
the
a hole in the ground at the time. I mean, they were replacing it. So a lot of construction going on. It was Thanksgiving. It's a KOA journey, just like this one, and it's just interesting to me that people come and go in a day. That's a lot of setup for just staying overnight. But that was how it was, and we had a site all to our off kind of to ourselves. Nobody ended up ever being around us. The site next to us was always clear, and then we were on the road side of everything from that site too. So Benson was it was nice. There were places to walk the dogs. For the most part, they had some dog walk area. They had dog park.
Not much to the dog park, but they really liked it.
But they the Zoomer. The first day that we were there, found a blue ball, squeaky rubber ball, and played with it. And then we were getting ready to come back out, and I told him to drop it and leave it. And we got back, and he had it in his mouth, and so it's now in our camper. So I don't know where it came from, but he loves that ball. He played with it last night again. We were just tossing it to him on the couch. So, but Benson was neat.
So we went to Kartchner Caverns twice.
Yep.
Some of us,
Yep.
some of you. That was like 30 minutes away in between Benson and Sierra Vista. First time we all went and we went to hike, and we did have to pay for our car to get in. None of our passes worked, so
Yep.
that was okay.
It was $7.
And I think it could have been a really nice hike, but it was kind of a cranky day.
Yeah.
And honestly, stuff right now is dry, and everything kind of looks the same. It's brown, and the plant life is not vibrant, and is just rocks, and so it wasn't super scenic as far as most of us were concerned. And it was hard. It was steep, and the fact that it probably wasn't the hardest hike we've done, but it was the least fun hike we were doing. We had a lot of complaining. So I call it the trophy hike because it won the trophy for most complaining, most crabbiness, most this and that. And what? Oh, I was gonna say I had to just let them complain because it was just distraction from like the actual work. I just had to let them fight back and forth. But then on Thanksgiving morning, you guys went back, you boys all went back to actually go into the cavern.
Yeah, we had to sign up for a tour. You had to reserve your spot on Arizona.gov, I believe it was. And so we reserved those spots to go into the big room. There's two different tours there: the big room and then the throne room, I think, is the other one. So we went into the big room, and it's just caves are always a really great experience. But being from the Midwest, the caves that we're used to, like Mystery Cave in Minnesota, or what are the ones? Cave of the Mounds, some of those different. They're always cold. These are always warm. They're 71 degrees year round and about 100% humidity. So we're sitting there shivering as we're waiting for the tour and on the tram to get to the entrance to the cave. And then once you go in, it's 71 degrees and humid, and it was a really nice tour. Very well done. The lady was extremely knowledgeable that led us on our tour. Lots to see, lots of different stalactites, stalagmites. They had soda straws. They had bacon. For those of you that are cavers, you know what bacon is. It's not to eat, but it is a neat, a very neat structure. So we got to see a lot of really neat things, including a site where some animals had gotten into the cave at some point that were not really expected to be there. Like there was this giant sloth skeleton that they discovered. So that was kind of cool. Not supposed to be there in the desert. They wouldn't normally be there. So anyway, it was a really good tour. Did cost, adults were $23 a piece, and then kids were $13. So I think adults started at 14 years old. So we had 2 kids and 2 adults that we had to pay for. So
and you couldn't take anything.
You couldn't take
cameras,
anything in.
water
Water bottles, nothing. You couldn't take anything in there. They even asked you about your shoes. If you had been in caves that would potentially have bats, they would sanitize your shoes with isopropyl alcohol, and that's part of trying to keep the white nose fungus from spreading, which is something that has killed a lot of bats. really across the whole nation. Now it started out east, but now it's kind of spread throughout the nation. And of course, we want to keep those bats alive because they eat a lot of insects.
You bat lover, you.
Yeah, they scare me. They're one thing that freaks me out. They freak me out. So anyway, that's where we spent Thanksgiving.
At the campground.
At the campground. Yeah, at the campground, not the cave. I mean, we did spend our morning Thanksgiving there, and then we came back, and Amanda had cooked up a storm, and we had turkey and stuffing, and I was told, because I did go to her cousin's house, and her cousin's wife is from the South, from Mississippi, and I did not have stuffing at their house. I had dressing. Dressing is different than stuffing, but it's similar, and they're both very, very good. So had my first pecan pie ever. I don't think I've ever had, maybe I've had it once or twice before, but that pecan pie was amazing. Of course, I had it there because Amanda allergies to nuts, so which is weird that she can be around me. That was good stuff.
It was good. It was different that we were by ourselves. It was kind of unique experience to eat outside on Thanksgiving at a picnic table.
Yeah.
It was good. It was nice. But I think that about you. You and Ethan went biking.
Yeah, Ethan and I went biking. We went. We did a lot of research. We asked Ryan, and he actually had a friend that works now for SRAM. If you know biking, that's the drive components, the part where that's attached to your pedals. And he gave us some ideas near Mount Lemmon, but that was like an hour away, and we didn't want to quite go that far. We talked to one of Amanda's friends that's from nearby, and in the end we went to McKenzie Bike Ranch and Recreation Area. They have a competition style single track, about 6
Keep
mile.
talking. This is what's happening right now.
About a 6 mile. Susan's getting a rub down. About a 6 mile track that Ethan and I did. And it was a lot of flow, so it was up and down, up and down, up and down. A lot of fast movements, which is really what Ethan's after. Like he's not gung-ho about powering up the hills, but he loves to come down. And this was really nice because your up the hills really weren't like super difficult, but your down the hills got really, really cool. But there were multiple times where my back end slid out coming around because he built up so much speed. And at one point or another, I sure enough popped another tire. But the interesting thing about that is Ethan and I put latex sealant into our inner tubes on 3 of the 4 tires. The tire that did pop was the one that did not have the sealant in it. So that was kind of an interesting experiment to see, and I think we may have found a way to keep the goat heads and such from making us buy tubes every time we go biking. Every time.
Belle refuses to go because she doesn't want a pop tire.
Yeah. So anyway, that's us from Cameron to Benson, and we'll do another video probably next week on where we're at right now. So until then, see you later.